Okay. Welcome back to the Astro Daddy podcast. This is Danny Santos with our favorite guest of all time, Miss Damona Hoffman. How's it going, baby?
It's going good, Danny.
Oh my God. It's such a pleasure to have you.
It's so good to be here with you. And, we've had such a long history
I
of
know.
readings, but not in this setting. So I'm happy to be here finally on
Yes.
the Astro Daddy podcast.
Absolutely. Who's your daddy?
You are, honey.
That's right, baby. So I gotta ask you, can you introduce yourself for the people who are listening who might not know you? They'd be crazy not to, but
Well, they will now.
yeah.
So my name is Damona Hoffman. I am a certified dating and relationship coach. You may have seen me on a little show called the Drew Barrymore Show, where sound effects. Thank you. Those are the same sound effects I get every time I'm on the show. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. So I'm the official relationship expert in her Drew crew. So I've been on that show since season 1, but I've also been on a lot of other shows, The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills
Yes.
and Access Hollywood, and I hosted a couple of shows on dating and relationships for A&E Networks,
yeah.
Black Love, and A Question of Love. So love is my business. It's what I do. I've helped people find love online and offline for over 15 years. And it's something that really fills my heart up as someone who used to be a love skeptic. I don't know what you're seeing over there in the chart.
We
but
got
I
it
was
all here, baby.
I was really a love skeptic for most of my life, and I ended up meeting my husband online years ago.
Which app did you meet him through?
Honey, it was pre-apps.
Oh.
It was back when sites were the thing.
Yeah.
And sites weren't even the thing. It was when people were like, ew, you met online? Gross. So we didn't even tell people that's
So
how we
you were a
met.
pioneer.
I was a pioneer. Can't you see I got like my...
Yes, a true
my
Sagittarius.
pioneer hat. And yeah, I really was. I was an early adopter, but I saw the magic there in dating apps and started coaching people on writing their dating profiles now about 17 years ago.
Oh my God.
And the rest is history.
That's right, baby. So you are the OG when it comes to helping people find love.
But I still have this youthful face and
Absolutely.
physique.
It's porcelain skin over here. So I remember when we did your birth chart the very first time that I met you, we talked about Sagittarius being one of the matchmaking signs.
Oh.
So because it's
I don't even remember that, but
it's
yeah.
the archer. It's like the Cupid
Yes.
archetype.
Yes.
So the one who's pointing the arrow, and you have your Sagittarius sun, Neptune, Mars, and Mercury all in the 5th house, which is the matchmaking placement in the birth chart as well.
Stop it.
So you are literally born to be a matchmaker, dating coach, relationship coach, and also teaching people about love, intimacy, connection.
Danny, why didn't I talk to you like 20 years ago? And I was like, what am I going to do with my life?
Well, and given you have so much Scorpio in your birth chart that like feeling like crisis or trauma or intensity might come naturally to you on some level.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Which we'll dive into all of this a little bit more, but I think we need to tell people how we met.
Really? So it was my birthday.
Yes.
I was going to have a little drink. So I was like, let me call a Lyft.
It was an Uber, actually.
Uber?
I
It
was
was
driving
Uber?
yes.
Okay, so I
This
said,
was before I knew Uber was canceled.
Uber TM. Okay, so my Uber driver arrives and tells me that
Hello.
he is an astrologer. And I was like, it's my birthday. So he said, why don't I give you a reading for your birthday? And I said, okay, boo, I'll call you.
And like 2 years go by.
2 years went by. And then I found your card.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, wait, my birthday's coming up again. It is time. And we reconnected.
And I had sent out like an email newsletter thing too.
right, yeah.
And you were like, hey, not
yeah.
sure if you remember me, but I was your Uber passenger.
And you were like, I have no idea who you are.
But then when I
said
saw
that to
you-
everyone.
I saw you on the Zoom and I was like, oh my God, I remember you.
Oh yeah, the rest
So?
the rest is history. But yeah, it was just so I've been interested in astrology and I've read tarot cards since I was 12 years old.
Yes.
So I've been interested in all of that. But honestly, you really have a gift, Danny.
Thank you.
I know you didn't come here for the
Oh
compliments.
but I'll take them.
But you have a gift in really being able to not only see what's happening in the stars, but also help guide people
Yeah.
and really be a counselor in using that information to guide one's life.
Thanks,
so thank you.
Dee.
for
Oh
that.
my, it's my pleasure. And I just remember the first time you had a session with me, I was like, your public persona is about to explode. I had no idea what you did or how you were affiliated with anyone. You're like, well, actually, I'm about to start working on the Drew Barrymore show. Do you remember?
I have the worst memory, by the way.
That's
like, it's like part of like the reading tarot cards. As soon as it happens, I completely forget it.
so it's like one year out the other.
I don't know what it is.
Oh
I don't
my
know what it is,
God.
but this is fascinating. Tell me more about
Our first
things that
session.
you and I experienced together that I have no memory of.
Yeah. So I because you have Jupiter in the first house, and then Jupiter was entering the sign of Aquarius. You were born with Jupiter in Leo, so I was like, oh, Jupiter's opposing where it was when you're born. You're about to have an explosion in your public image, like something really big is about to happen, and that's when you got picked up for Drew's show.
And let me guess, at the time I was like, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah. That's that Scorpio moon. You're like, nothing's guaranteed.
Oh, you're reading me right now. Yes. And also I have been involved in the entertainment business along with being a love coach. My original career was actually in casting.
Oh my God, that's right.
I used to help people market themselves, actors market themselves and choose headshots that would stand out from a crowd and figure out how to audition, how to tell their story and leave a good first impression. And I realized all those skills were applicable
to dating and coaching.
Dating. Yeah, exactly. So
Oh my
that's what
God.
kind of led me here. And that's the strategies I used to meet my husband, and then have helped thousands of people since then to do the same
Yeah.
thing. So I've been in the biz for a minute.
Well, and you've also produced,
I've
right?
produced since then. I've also I was an executive and a producer. So Hollywood.
Well-
I believe it when I see it, honey.
And not to out you, but I know you've got like these 3 planets in Scorpio, and you have studied evidential-based mediumship.
You're like, not to out you, but I'm gonna out you.
Is it okay that I'm bringing that up?
It's okay. I have no secrets.
Yeah.
I have no secrets. I don't bring it into my work, but I am certified as a psychic medium.
Yeah.
But I don't. To me, it's a different skill set.
Yeah.
Than what I do in dating relationships. People are like, why don't you just tell me who I'm going to be with? And I'm like,
It
but that's
doesn't
not
work
fun.
that way.
That's not fun because then it takes all the discovery out of it. I'd rather teach people the skills and have them experience the journey of
100%.
falling in love. But, it is something I say, like, some people play golf and,
Some people date coach.
some people date coach and some people talk to spirits. And that's just, it's just a pastime.
Well, and in your birth chart, this is where it's kind of a good tie-in because your destiny sign in this lifetime is Virgo.
Yes.
Whereas
I do remember that.
Yes. Whereas your past life sign is Pisces. So mediumship and that kind of work, it's a very Piscean pursuit.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't pull you into your destiny work in this lifetime.
Oh, interesting.
Like to do that work, you've already developed spirituality, psychic ability, compassion, kindness. You've done those tools. And then the low vibration, we did a past life regression around the eclipse series like
intense.
6 months ago.
Yeah.
And you saw like yourself as a man who had struggled with addiction in a past life. That's also a Pisces South Node placement.
Oh, man.
So in this lifetime, you came in to deal with reality, Virgo. And you're married to a Virgo.
Yeah.
So to get into like the practical, logical, what's realistic, again, to do the mediumship work doesn't necessarily pull you into destiny, but to teach people how to practically sell themselves, market themselves, organize their lives, learn practical tools on how to date, that's what you're here to do.
And I will say, I think intuition is a practical tool
Absolutely.
to develop. So I do teach that in my programs, but I'm not gonna like talk to your dead grandma about like who you should date and what. That's not my calling this lifetime.
No, you've already
Maybe
developed
the next
it.
one.
You've already developed it. So, and then your other past life sign is Scorpio. So, and you've got your moon, Venus, and Uranus all in that placement in the birth chart. So,
How do you see that? Where is that, Danny?
it's at the bottom of your birth chart. I printed it out here. So,
But is this like when you just put it into your whatever Astro programmer?
Astro Theme is the website I use.
Shout out Astro Theme.
Hey guys.
Is that in a particular house? Where do you find that?
So your South Node falls in the 8th house. So we always check what's the 8th sign of the zodiac. That would be Scorpio. So the South Node is past lives. So it's in the sign of Pisces and it's in the 8th house. So behaving like Scorpio. So
This is why you're the master.
there we go. So when we have a Scorpio South Node, our soul knows trauma. It knows instability. It can know poverty, really serious trauma like physical abuse or sexual abuse. It can know just like what it feels like to be unstable. So in this lifetime, you're here to move beyond the trauma story. Like your destiny, your other destiny sign apart from Virgo is Taurus. So learning how to enjoy life, develop pleasure, have money, have your own house, like you've already been like this starving spiritual psychic medium in a past life. So this lifetime is like, no, let's get really real and let's get really practical and let's have money and enjoy life.
True. I'm about that. I'm about that life.
So when we think about the Scorpio side of things, like the intensity or having to clean up a mess that somebody else may have left for you, like, does that resonate for you in your early side of life at all? Or like trying to escape or even move beyond challenges? Everybody has some level of challenge in their life, right?
Let's be honest. I grew up a Black Jewish girl in a very waspy Midwest suburb.
Yeah.
At the time, I fit in nowhere. I was like, I stuck out like a sore thumb. And as I have grown into who I am and gone through my life, I've discovered that a lot of the things that made me weird or different before have made me relatable or have plugged me in ways that I could have never imagined that they would have when I was younger.
Yeah, yeah. And when Scorpio is on the South Node, being an outcast does fall under that category. So your soul comes from that lineage and you were incarnated in this lifetime to move beyond that.
Okay.
You know, to belong and to not only belong, but like to champion your own life.
Yeah.
Because your soul hasn't done that before. So like here you are, dating coach on television, have your own show, like winning awards, doing all of these things. You're truly like rising beyond whatever trauma story your soul's lineage knows. So this is a milestone lifetime for you because you're overcoming trauma. Like you're moving beyond a story that's repeated for lifetimes.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
It does, and also just in my family lineage, like there's
We're both
a
from
lot.
Detroit.
Well, hey, hold on a second. I am from East Lansing.
Oh, okay.
Sir.
All right, I'm from Metro Detroit. I'm not even from Detroit. I'm like 50 minutes north.
Let's be real about that. I know. My mom is from 8 Mile Road from Detroit.
Okay.
Detroit. But I grew up kind of a world away in East Lansing, where Michigan State is. So I will say though that looking at my family history, like my family growing up in the projects in Detroit, they had a lot of trauma, and obviously, most black people in the United States have been through some ancestral trauma.
Absolutely.
And on the other side, my Jewish relatives moved here because of the pogroms, and had they not moved because of pogroms, then they probably would have been impacted differently by the Holocaust. So there's a lot of trauma, and that's just in recent history.
Yeah.
If you really look back over time, like I have a fantastic psychic that has been in my life for a long time, and he's like, Damona, this is not a mistake. Like the fact that you are embodied in this package, this is not a mistake.
Yeah. Well, and that's where we get this Scorpio idea, because you've got 3 planets in the sign and your past life sign. So this is a really heavy part of your karma that you came here to clear.
Yeah.
And whenever we do have heavy Scorpio placements, it's to shed the trauma of the ancestors. So like your bloodline has been through it on both sides. And you were born to like say, no, we're going to start afresh, start anew. Like, so as you have your own children, as they have their own children, they don't carry the same trauma. It's doing work for the bloodlines for the future.
Wow. That's powerful.
And cleaning up the mess that somebody else left or that somebody else had to endure.
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like to call Scorpio placements like the Grim Reaper of the Zodiac. So they come in and they clean it up.
Wow. That's visual.
Yeah. But that's so much of your soul's journey. So outside of all of the stuff you do for work, I mean, the real work for you is like just to have your own stability. Because your soul and your ancestors know that intensity, that unpredictable nature.
Yeah.
And so when we look at your career sign in the Zodiac, it's Aries. So the sign of the trailblazer, the sign of the self. You literally were born in this lifetime to embody yourself, to be yourself in your work.
Oh my goodness. Danny, my tagline on my website is love as you are.
There
and
you
that
go.
I'm teaching people how being their true authentic self is what will attract their true love.
Yeah. So when we have Aries placements, like these are the people that are like, this is what it is. This is who I am. This is how it's going to be. Whether you like it or not, take it or leave it. But
I know. My son's an Aries, so I get
there
you.
you go. Your son might be able to follow in your footsteps, what you do professionally.
Really?
Yeah, given that he's in the same sign here.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, so a little something interesting there. And then when we look at some of the other placements in your birth chart, your Cancer rising. Yeah. So what most people might not know about you, Cancer rising people are introverted. So there can be a shyness or like on a first impression, it's more of the mother archetype, like wanting to nurture or not be the center of attention. So juxtapose your career sign in Aries, where it's like, here I am, center of attention, like this is who I am. When people meet you one-on-one, it could be a different story.
So can I tell you a story about that?
Please.
So when I went to school and studied theater,
Yes.
we would do this exercise to find our essence. Our teachers were always like, what is your essence?
Yeah.
So basically it's just a fancy theater word for like what's people's impression of you.
Yeah.
It's just sort of your rising sign,
Sure,
right?
there you go.
So the exercise was to walk around the room and the teacher would call out a name.
Okay.
And when she called out that person's name, we were to embody their essence. So she says, Robin, and Robin's like very upbeat and perky, and everybody's like, Robin, Robin. And then she says, Mandy, and Mandy's kind of like chill, she's like, Mandy. And then she says, Damona. And everyone goes crossing their arms, tightening up, Damona. Everyone, Danny, everyone was like, Damona.
Oh my,
Damona.
Cancer rising.
And I'm like, I'm a Sagittarius. That's not who I am.
Yeah.
I'm like, Damona. And they're all like, Damona.
Oh my God.
And that was like the first time I think that I was really confronted with my Cancer rising, that the way I was presenting myself was completely different than how I felt and who I thought I was. So I actually made some changes after that. I like started wearing brighter colors. I started to think about smiling and being more outgoing when I would enter a room. And now if you were to say to any of my friends now, like, oh, Damona is actually an introvert, they'd be like, get out of here. No, it's not what I give off. And even, on the show, people are like, oh, you're so warm and approachable and inviting. And I think that that's just like, I'm able to kind of access my true nature.
Yeah.
Not, by the way, my daughter is a Cancer. Not that there's anything not inviting about Cancers.
Well, it's a more introverted sign.
And they can be in their shell more. And I think that's what people were seeing. They were seeing like arms crossed, folded up in the shell Damona.
Well, and you've got 4 planets in Sagittarius. So you know this sign through and through. It's like the international traveler, the trickster, the jokester, the person who can break the ice.
Yeah.
So juxtaposed to a Cancer rising, like
didn't stand a chance.
Yeah. It's just a funny placement to have, because what people see you as versus how you are they're 2 totally different things.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is in there, but I would say I've always been an observer. And I think that's what they were reading. It wasn't that I didn't want to engage and that I was closed off. It's that I'm always trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
And it works really well for the work that I'm in now. Because, even like I've been doing my podcast for 10 years and I have people give me questions, and I love like getting underneath what is the real question that you're asking and unpacking that so I can give people actionable advice and answers. And I think that's what I was doing when I was in school. Is there was just so much that I was taking in that I was just constantly assessing and learning and piecing it all together.
Have you ever done human design? Do you know what you are?
Poco.
Do you know
a little bit.
Manifesting generator? Do you know? Or
yeah, I think that's right. I think I'm a manifesting generator.
Yes, I have no doubt, because you've got that energy of like when you do something, you create the whole thing and then you put it out there.
That sounds like me.
You know?
That sounds familiar. There's
Yeah.
only like 4 types, right?
I think there's 5, but one of them's less than 1%.
Oh, okay.
So, but what you were describing sounded like qualities of a projector, which is like you have to be invited in to do the thing. But
No, I think I'm not a projector.
yeah,
I'm
I'm
pretty
manifesting generator too. So
Okay.
same.
Game
Podcast.
recognized game.
Yeah, that's right. So you also have Jupiter in Leo in your birth chart. So Jupiter represents where we are the most expanded in astrology. It's almost like having a ton of planets in one sign because Jupiter's the biggest planet. So Leo is the sign of the ego, performance, being able to hold your own and shake your stuff and dress in the bright colors, perform and act and be yourself in a way that's like doing good for the collective through your own identity. So with Jupiter in Leo, it's in your first house. You can be yourself and be big, and it's not painful for you. It's probably actually very enjoyable to perform.
Sure.
You know?
I know when people say, "Oh, I'm so terrified of speaking in front of a crowd." I'm like, "How?" It's like the most comfortable place in the world for me.
I feel that as well.
Yeah.
And it's probably because you have all of the fire signs in your birth chart. Your career's in Aries, you've got this Jupiter in Leo, and then 4 planets in Sagittarius. So the Cancer rising is very out of place here because you've got this like larger than life fuel and energy source to share with other people. And then it's kind of packaged in this more introverted lens. But once people know who you are, the ascendant can move out of the way. So like when you're on the Drew Barrymore Show or you're going to do interviews or these kinds of things.
Is there something though in also the sensitivity of a Cancer? Because like we've been focusing on the introversion, but I think that is also something that is one of my gifts that I've realized. Like even when I'm on the Drew Barrymore Show or hosting another reality show, one thing that I can do is to get people to really lock in with me to the point where they forget that the cameras are rolling.
Yeah.
Like when I worked with Garcelle Beauvais on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, she was like, the first time we met, we did a podcast together and it was all, fun and sunshine and rainbows. And then on the show, I was like, okay, I gotta do my best work here.
Yeah.
So we got really deep and she ended up really having an emotional moment and we had to even stop for a second, stop filming, and she had to collect herself. And she was like, I didn't know it was going to be like this. Like, I can't believe that you have me here crying on camera, because that was really not what she wanted to put out. But that's what I do, is I get people to their essence, to their authenticity.
Yes.
And we work through all of those emotions. And I feel like if I were just all fire, it would not allow people to be drawn in and to feel safe opening up.
Yeah, that makes sense too. And something that's very common with Cancer placements is they're incredibly psychic. Mediumship is common with Cancer placements, so people who can kind of communicate beyond the veil. But intuition is the biggest thing. Cancer is the sign of feelings. So that's why it's like the archetype of the mother. It's the person who's nurturing or caring for the group. And then we also see like psychologists, hypnotherapists, like people who get inside your psyche. And you have a Scorpio moon.
I was wondering if you were going to bring that up, Dan.
Yeah. So it's like, it's very Freudian in a lot of ways. Like as you're listening to people, your ascendant being in Cancer is soft, but your Scorpio, your ability to probe and get to the root of things. Again, that Grim Reaper coming in, clearing people's trauma.
I love that.
I love that too. Scorpio is my career sign in my birth chart. So
look at what you're doing.
Ayahuasca, shamanism, astrology, like it kind of fits in there. But it makes sense to have that Cancer rising, the ability to connect with people on the more deeper emotional level. Mm-hmm. So even in your private coaching programs, how do you feel like that carries into all of this?
Well, so my programs now, most of the coaching I do is in a group setting.
Yeah. So you're kind of behaving like almost like a mother figure to your hens.
Yes, I am. And we do that work. I create a safe space. Like we're in a group and you don't know these other people. So you have to feel safe to be able to open up and work through your stuff. So I do create that space. And in a way, it's sort of like I bring people inside my little shell.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about when you're coaching people, because you are the Cancer rising, so we talk about vulnerability, intimacy, connection. As people are getting to know each other, what is kind of the stages of divulging intimacy or raw information or these more sensitive sides of ourselves?
Are you saying as a coach or as people going into dating?
Well, let's hear your perspective. I'm sure you're going to have a little bit more of an enlightened view on this, given this is what you do.
Well, so as a coach, my perspective is I can't help you if you're not willing to take your stuff out and look at it.
Yeah.
So you get out what you put into it. And the more, it's kind of similar to, like, I used to tell people with tarot, I'm like, the more specific your question is, the more specific your answer is going to be. So I have people really get clarity, because a lot of people out here dating just don't even know what they're looking for. They're just like, I'll know it when I see it. And then what do you get? You get
half, you know?
Yeah, you get whatever.
Right.
They're like, will you set me up with somebody? Okay, well then you're just going to get somebody.
Well, the universe will give you what you ask for. So you got to be specific. When I was building my Bumble profile recently, because I delete it and get back on and delete and get back on. Don't people do that all the time?
Yeah.
So I always try to like make it as specific as possible. Like, I'm monogamous. I'm looking for this. I like to do this, you know?
Yes, that is key if we're going to get into dating coaching.
Why not? I mean, it's your specialty.
Yeah, this specificity is really important, because people need something that they can connect to. And a lot of times I'll read a profile and it's like, I'm just as comfortable in a pair of high heels as I am in a pair of sweats. I'm like, girl, pick a side of the street. If you just pick one, obviously, if you're comfortable in high heels and you go out, you're not going out every night. And there are some nights where you're in sweats, but like, where's your comfort zone? Who are you really? And like leaving those specifics, I think of them as threads that somebody can pick up on. And then it's all about that and that initial match and that initial message. So if you don't have a lot of detail in there, it's hard for somebody to picture who you are. And then it's, even if they are like, well, you cute, I'm going to swipe right, they can't think of what am I going to say in this message?
Yeah.
And then everybody gets villainized for saying, hey, or, just some generic message. But if you look at your profile and you have generic information in there, then how are you going to expect a more thoughtful and specific introduction?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, even as I've been going through profiles lately, you're right. When people don't have anything in their profile that's like you can get at it and ask a question about, the conversation has nowhere to go besides, hey, how's it going?
Yeah. And the problem is that we are chasing likes. And thank you, Instagram, for
modifying that in our brain.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not the same on dating apps. And your dating app is not your Instagram feed. It's
That's a good point.
Curated sampling of who you are. It's a window into who you are. It's just enough, like going back to the marketing, it's just enough to hook someone in, and then everything else happens after. But I feel like people think, oh, I got to put it all out there, or I have to not offend anybody because I'm trying to get as many likes as I can. So I'm going to put this little thirst trap photo and get people to swipe right, but then nobody's messaging me, or everybody keeps ghosting me, and I'm not actually getting what I want, the monogamous relationship, the life partner, even the date. Like that's the biggest thing. People come to me with complaints that they're just not even finding dates. Yeah. And I'm like, how, like, especially, I don't know why I hear this all the time in LA and New York. People say, oh, LA is the hardest place to date. New York is the hardest place to date. Those are like the most populous cities.
That's where you can get the most matches.
How is it the hardest place to date? You have 10 times the number of options as somebody in Tulsa, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think a big part of it is that this is how I feel. These apps aren't designed to get you a date. They're designed to get you matches.
Thank you for saying that.
Okay.
Because like on Dates and Mates, I define them as introduction apps. But we're making them do too much work. We're like expecting them to be your soulmate finder. And it's like, it's just the virtual bar. Okay. Yeah. Not everybody you meet is going to be your soulmate. You've got to do the work to set yourself up for success, to write your profile in a way that magnetizes the right dates to you, to show up, to pace it, to do all of the other stuff that you need to do to move from match to relationship. But we lazy,
You can
right?
say that again.
And moving all the conversation to DMs, to text, it's not an effective way to make a connection. So I have to move people. I say it's kind of like, it's like a dance. It's like the cadence is quick, quick, slow, quick, quick, slow. So quick, get the match, quick, get off the app, slow, get to know each other. And that doesn't work. It's back to quick, quick, slow.
So like redoing it with somebody else.
Yeah, it's wash, rinse, repeat.
Interesting. So I don't know if you know, but Sagittarius is the sign of marketing.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
You probably told me and I forgot.
Well, it's the sign of like getting into a global consciousness, seeing how do things look like from a big lens, a zoomed out point of view. So given that you've got these 4 planets in Sagittarius in your birth chart, what you do is help people get themselves out there and then how to market themselves.
Totally.
So it's part of playing the Cupid archetype there,
I'm marketing Cupid.
You're helping people market to Cupid, I suppose. But in order to help people sell themselves, because they're Sagittarius are some of the best salespeople in the zodiac, maybe only rivaled by Gemini.
Ooh,
so, but
interesting.
So with those 4 planets in your birth chart, what would you say is like, how should people market themselves? I mean, personally, I'm ashamed of writing that I'm an astrologer in my dating app because I'm afraid people are going to be like, that's so LA, that's so lame. Like, you were saying something about authenticity and just being yourself.
And some people will. And are those your people?
Probably not.
Right. Because if you're going to date them, they're eventually going to find out you're an astrologer. They're gonna look up the Astro Daddy podcast.
I can't deny it at this point.
So that's really the core of my strategy is like, let's figure out what's unique about you. And then let's be a complete turnoff to all those people who are not into that. So that the people who connect with that lean in and are like, oh. And it's been shown, I write about this in my forthcoming book.
Ooh. You want to plug that book really quick?
I can plug it, but you won't be able to find it till January.
All right. Be on the lookout.
It's called F the Fairy Tale.
Oh, hell yeah.
Rewrite the dating myths and live your own love story. And I'm sure you're going to tell me how that's like all written in my chart.
Well, that would be the Scorpio side of you and being like, so like, it's not going to be perfect. There's a reality here. Scorpios tell it like it is.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's a tell it like it is book. And it's just basically dismantling all of these myths that we have in our head about how it's supposed to go or what people are going to say, what people think, and allowing yourself to write the story that is most authentic to you and the person that you envision meeting.
Yeah.
That's it. So in my book, I talk about being specific and how, like, there's data from OKCupid, who I also work with as their official dating coach. I've worked with like all of the apps, but I really like OKCupid because of how much information, all the data, and how much information because of the matching questions. But I digress. They used to have a feature where you could rate your matches, and 1 being like ew, gross, and 5 being hubba hubba. And they found that people who were getting who were polarizing, who were getting 1s and 5s, were having more connections and going on more dates than people who were 3s consistently. The people that were in the middle of the road were less likely to move offline and move into a relationship than the people who, some people looked at them and were like, oh, that person's totally for me. And other people were like, ooh, not at all. So what does that tell you?
That tells you that you got to be yourself and be yourself hard.
That's right. That's right. And that you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea.
I remember hearing about Sarah Jessica Parker being someone who is like very polarizing. They did a study on her specifically, and they asked people to rate what they thought of her, like similar.
5.
Yes.
I'm a 5. I'm an SJP 5.
I love her. I love her so much. But that was like someone who versus I think like Giselle or something who got like all of these 5s, you know, but that, I don't know. It showed that Sarah Jessica Parker, while she might be polarizing on some level, like she has such a cult following that the people who love her,
Yes.
you know, whereas Giselle, like people love her, but does anybody really like know a lot about her personal life or, you know, that was kind of what the study was talking about. My phone just fell. 1 second. Check time. All right. We still got about 15 minutes here.
All right, we're good.
But so I think that's brilliant to kind of bring that forward on just to get people to realize, like, if you be yourself, you're more likely to get an authentic match.
Yeah, and to not be afraid of turning people off. It's not a popularity contest. It's a chance for you to meet the person who's best suited for you. Like I had my husband on Dates and Mates a few weeks ago for our 16th wedding anniversary.
Ooh, congratulations.
I know, as a child bride, obviously.
Yes.
But he was talking about how he really got overlooked a lot, and he was the nice guy, and he was not out here having a bunch of dates. I think my husband is the best catch in the world. Yes. And I'm like, so glad that these other ladies did not give him the time of day, because I just found this diamond in a rough. I polished it up a little bit, but he's the greatest, and he's the greatest for me. And even over the last 16 years, you know, I have so many examples of how we're just so well matched.
Yeah.
And I can't picture that there were women that said no to him, but thank God they did.
So given that your destiny sign is Virgo in your birth chart, what qualities does your husband have that you're like, I would like to develop that more in myself? Because according to this, it's like, this is a fated connection.
Well, thank you for saying that.
You're welcome.
So all of them, all of the qualities that, we're really opposites. And people always ask me, like, is it true opposites attract? I'm like, let's not, I don't like rules like that. Sure. I think you find your match, right?
Yeah.
I do not think opposites attract. I think you have to have, well, I talk in my book about the 4 pillars. You have to have shared values and you have to have common goals for the future. And then the other 2 are communication and trust. Yeah. But those first 2 are really, really important, and we are aligned in that way. But there are a lot of things that he is very different. Like, people always think, oh, he's a Virgo, he must be really organized. He's not organized. Let's set the record straight.
My parents are both, and they're not always organized either.
I do remember talking about this with you.
They get really messy, and then they get really clean, and then really messy and really clean.
So here's the difference. He's organized mentally. In his brain, he's got a system for everything. And like like inbox 0 is his goal. Like, I'm at inbox. This is not going to surprise you. I probably have 30,000 unread messages in my inbox.
Oh my God.
Does that surprise you at all?
No,
looking at what's on the paper
Sagittarius,
there?
everything without bounds.
People think that I'm organized because I get a lot done. Yeah. I'm just a doer. I just make it happen. But I'm not good. I'm not good with papers. I'm not good with electronic files, any of that. He's so great with the systems, and I just can't even comprehend a 0 inbox. Yeah.
So do you feel like being married to him like helps you develop those qualities more, or do you get to piggyback on his strengths on that? I'm just curious from an astrologer's point of view. Like, you're dating your destiny sign, so how does, like, you know?
I would love for those skills to be developed. It hasn't happened yet, but, you know, maybe give us a couple more decades and I can work on that. But the other thing that I've really learned from him, and I don't know if this is a Virgo thing or Sagittarius, you'll tell me. Yeah. He is so kind, and he has so much integrity, and the way that he really sees people and just honors and acknowledges people, I've learned a lot from that. Now
your phone's ringing. I hear something vibrating.
That's probably my husband. Not the vibrating part. Dun-dun-dun. But I remember when we first started dating, and I looked at a lot of things as transactional, I believe.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you go to the grocery store, it's like, okay, you're the checker. Your job is check the groceries, get me out of here as fast as possible, because I did everything fast, and I still do. And he would stop and ask the checker hey, how's your day going? And they'd be like, what? No one has asked me that. Like,
I've been here for years.
Yeah, it's going well. Thank you so much for asking. And seeing the way that people really lit up just by him taking the time to just see them and acknowledge
Oh
them
my God.
and not see them as just like a cog in the wheel, but
Yeah.
as a person, that really inspired me. And I feel like that has changed my whole outlook on life and my entire, a huge aspect of my personality.
Okay, so given that Scorpio and Pisces are your past life signs, those are very big picture signs. Scorpio is all about the ancestors and the psychic ability and all that. And Pisces is about like dreaming and creativity and you know, beyond the physical reality. So your Virgo North Node is making more sense to me because Virgos see what's directly in front of them. They have a relationship to what's right there at the moment. So that's what you're here to develop.
And that's also hilarious because I'll get all caught up in this, in analyzing this thing that happened in the past. Like when our son got COVID a couple months ago, he's fine. He's fine.
Thank God.
We didn't know he had COVID.
Oh,
and
no.
I, like a couple weeks ago, I was like, do you think that he had it? Because then he tested negative within like 3 days. I was like, do you think he had it the whole time? Had he had it earlier in the week and not, or had he had it before? And he was like, I can't even believe that you're
Still
spending
thinking about
any brain space thinking about this.
Virgo.
We will never know, and it doesn't even matter.
Yeah. Well, both my parents are doctors. They're both Virgos. And they're just like, why are you thinking twice about most things? Whereas I'm very cerebral. Like I can really fixate on the detail of something. But like not the detail of what's in front of me, the detail of what could have happened.
What could have happened. And then also thinking about the future. Like I do a
Yes.
lot of visualization and like, you know, I do vision boards and living visions. And I like to picture the future that I'm stepping into. He's not interested in that at all.
Virgo just wants what's directly in front of them.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'm here right now.
Yeah. And like I will start planning my next vacation when I'm on the vacation. I know
Oh my, we
Sagittarius,
talked about
right?
that before. That is Sag to a T.
He can't think. He's like, I don't even want to think about it because I don't know when we can take that vacation.
Yeah.
Like, but isn't it fun to just like imagine? He's like, not at all. It's not fun to me at all.
Yeah. Oh my
And
God.
I'm not changing on that.
Hey, nor should you. I think if you weren't planning all these vacations, would you guys be going?
Truth. Ain't that the truth?
So you're also helping him in that regards.
Yes.
I have a question, a dating question.
Okay.
So I have a friend who was in a relationship for a year, and her partner were having an incredible relationship. Everything was going great. And about 11 months in, the partner's script flipped, and it seemed to come out of nowhere. When this happens, do you have any explanation as to why that happens?
Danny, I would need so much more information to get
Okay.
into the nitty gritty. I don't want to be an irresponsible dating and relationship coach.
Fair.
But I would say that people do change, and whatever else is going on in someone's life always bleeds into the relationship, of course. So it could have something to do with maybe something that happened at work and how that person feels about that, or something that's
Sure.
going on with family. Like I saw a lot of that happening, especially during COVID. People who
Really?
were like, things were going strong, and then
COVID happens and you add the apocalypse to everything.
yeah, and then like somebody gets sick or somebody loses their job, and like one factor changes, and then people were like, I'm sorry, I just can't do any of this. Like the whole thing.
But that's a common experience. That's
that
kind
what-
of what happened. You know, it's like going through. You know, my friend had a couple things going on in their life, and I think it just caused things to implode. So that's very useful to know if someone's personal life outside of the relationship is taking a couple hits. That can make it challenging for the relationship as a whole on both sides to survive. Then,
Of course. And a relationship is really an amplifier. So
whatever's already there.
whatever's already there will then be, because that's where you ideally are your most comfortable, authentic self.
Yeah.
So then everything that somebody is holding on to, holding in from other areas of their life, you get the brunt of it.
Interesting. Do you see this a lot in your practice?
I see a lot of
Switcheroo, where someone's like, I'm one thing, and then it becomes they're like not showing their most authentic self.
I don't usually see it like a year in, I see a lot of it in the first 3 months. So a lot of my practice is focused on getting people into the relationships. And most of my clients, it's pre-date. I say pre-date to pre-marriage.
Yeah.
So usually people get weird when they get to those inflection points of like, okay, this has either got to be something or nothing. And that happens at usually around 3 months.
Yeah.
And then it happens again, depending on people's age, people's circumstances, where in the country people are. It happens again at the time when things get serious. So maybe a year, 2 years, but that's another inflection point where everything gets stirred up.
Yeah. Well, and getting serious would be, you know, having milestones in the relationship that are basically turning towards like, oh, we're planning on having this relationship be like forever.
Exactly.
So I can imagine a big slew of different, you know, life-changing events that could activate that for someone.
Life-changing events, but then also you get to that point where you're like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? So maybe we went with the flow for the first phase of the relationship, but then as we start looking into the future, then that's when the tough stuff comes up.
Sure.
And then sometimes if we haven't laid a strong enough foundation in the beginning of those 4 pillars that I was talking about, then that's when things start to materialize.
Yeah.
So like I did have a client recently who met someone online and it was long distance. He was in the UK. She was in the United States. She has kids. She was like, he said he's fine with it. We can just be dating. And he's not too worried about it because she can't move. She has kids. He's not planning to move. And then a few months into it, it was like suddenly not fine. And he's like, what are we doing here? Because the relationship got to that inflection point where it was getting more serious.
Yeah.
And he couldn't picture the future if they couldn't be together. Like the long distance thing was something that worked for a time. And I've helped a lot of people navigate long distance relationships, but I always say you have to have at least either, if not a plan for the future, you have to at least be able to visualize what does that look like when we are together.
Yeah.
Because long distance relationships cannot, I'll take the hate comments if they come, but I don't think that they really work long term.
Yeah.
You
got to be an Aquarius to make that one work.
That's your category of expertise. I don't know. But I haven't really seen it.
Yeah.
There's a point where you have to be able to be in the same place at the same time. And if you can't visualize that or you can't work towards a plan for that, then you unfortunately have a really tough road ahead.
Yeah. Well, and I think with these inflection points in mind, like a relationship can feel like the fairy tale, you know, plugging. And then someone's traumas can start coming up once things start getting too real. So you can have one person who's literally the perfect partner for you, but if you haven't done the work on yourself to like be ready for it, then it's impossible, right?
Impossible.
Okay.
Yes. And I've had that experience with clients too, where, you know, they're ready and they're like, I talk in the book about one of my clients who was dating someone for about a year and she was approaching 40 and she's like, I want to have kids. And she'd been asking him the whole time about could we start a family? And he was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of running my business and doing other things and I maybe. And she got to the point where she was like, this is what I want.
Yeah.
Could you
Can you give me what I want?
Yeah. And he said, yeah, I guess. And I was like, honey,
oh, no.
having kids is not an I guess sort of situation. So she ended up breaking that relationship off.
Oh my God.
She took a few months to heal. And that's something also that I get that question a lot of like, how long before it's different for everybody before you can start dating again. But you have to take time to make sense of what happened and see where you made choices that affected the trajectory of the relationship and what you would do differently.
Sure.
And then we went back online. I was like, give me another shot at your profile. Like, let's get back on the horse. A few months later, redid her profile, put her online. Within 3 months, she met a guy. Within 3 months from that, they were living together. And then they were engaged. They were married almost a year to the day from their first date. And then 2 years later, they had their daughter.
Oh my God. So
Yeah.
if I'm hearing you correctly, you can go through the most challenging heartbreak or difficult situation and still bounce back.
Totally. You don't know what's on the other side. I mean, maybe if you go to Danny and you get
Your birth chart done.
then you can know what's on the other side.
Sure.
But
sure.
yeah, I think about, just my own life, my own career. Some of my greatest wins were on the other side of my biggest disappointments.
Wow.
But you have to have the faith that you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
That took a lot of courage for her to say, I really like this guy, but I know I want to have a family. And if he's not on this path and my timeline, my window is closing, I have to be willing to let this go, to let something else come in. So, I called that chapter, Don't Settle for I Guess, when you can have Of Course. And now her husband is just like what she always dreamed. And he was right on the other side. And he has said to me that he didn't think he was ready before her. Like he was out there playing the field, but he had gotten clear that that was what he wanted around the same time that she did.
Oh my God.
And both of them like stepping into their future at the same time was what brought them together.
Oh my God. Well,
and the help of a great digital matchmaker.
it is the streets in LA. It is hard for dating. Okay.
You know what? I'm going to stop you there because I think I've seen that we become our thoughts, and our thoughts dictate our actions, and our actions become our reality.
Yeah.
So, in my program, I don't let people say, dating is hard or whatever is their limiting belief. I call them dating samskaras. Like, what is that thing that you repeat and you repeat and you repeat that you have a chance to rewrite and give yourself sort of a trigger that as soon as it comes out, because you're going to say it 20 times a day, that you have another phrase that helps move you towards the future you envision and not the reality that you feel stuck in.
100%. And this is your Sagittarius shining through, because Sagittarius they'll go the distance I like to think that Sagittarius are playing Tinder with every single thing in their life. And when there's something they don't like, they're like, swipe left, swipe left, swipe left. They're like, oh yeah, I like that. That can go,
Totally.
It's to refute a negative thought or something you don't want in your life. That's Sagittarius.
Oh.
And to get what you want. That's the point of the sign, is to go the distance to get what you want.
Yeah, and I want to give that to everyone, Danny.
Yeah, it's my destiny sign. I need to learn from you.
Okay. Here we are.
Here we are, baby. But Damona, I just got to say thank you so much for coming onto the podcast today. If you want to give another plug, how people can find you, shout out your book, your podcast, anything you want to say, go for it.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to
You're
be here.
welcome. Thank you.
And yeah, I love giving love advice, in case you can't tell. And I do it every week on Dates and Mates. So you can find me wherever you're listening to Astro Daddy right now, or on datesandmates.com. And I have a lot of free goodies and programs and ways that we can work together if you go check out that, or follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or TikTok at Damona Hoffman.
And this is Danny Santos, your Astro Daddy. I'm going to be in Peru over the next couple months, so episodes will be coming out irregularly while I'm gone, but I'm completing my ayahuasca shamanism training. So if you want to learn more about that, shoot me an email at santosastrology@gmail.com, or follow me on Instagram at Santos Crystal Visions. Astro Daddy and Damona Hoffman, out!